Okay, hello and welcome to today's Doors Open Baltimore virtual tour of the Roland Water Tower. Today's program is presented by the Baltimore Architecture Foundation, and my name is Nathan Denny's, Associate Director of the Baltimore Architecture Foundation. First, thank you to everyone who donated to be with us, and thank you to our Doors Open sponsors, grantors, and in-kind supporters. Your support is what makes Doors Open Baltimore possible. And I encourage everyone to participate in our Instagram at home photo contest this year. We'd love to see photos of buildings around your neighborhood. Use the hashtag DoorsOpenBaltimore to participate. Prizes are available. Today's tour is part of the Doors Open Baltimore Civic Pride and Industry Week, offering behind the scenes tours of city buildings and a chance to explore the city's industrial legacy. Join us again on Tuesday for presentations on Masonville Cove and Clipper Mill, and a presentation on the new Society's Cage installation outside of City Hall. See all the Doors Open offerings at www.doorsopenbaltimore.org. And now today's tour. AF board members Jackson Gilman Ferlini and Suzanne Frazier are joining us live at the Roland Water Tower. We're going to stop sharing our screen now to turn it over to them to take over. During the tour, their video will be pinned. And just make sure that your Zoom is on speaker view if it's not already. And with that, Jackson, take it away.
Thank you, Nathan. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Great. So as Nathan mentioned, my name is Jackson Gilman Forlini. I work for the Baltimore City Department of General Services as their Historic Preservation Officer. I'm here today with Suzanne Frazier, who is intimately involved in the Roland Water Tower as founder of the Friends of the Roland Water Tower. She's also an architect and faculty at Morgan State University. So we're really pleased today to be with you, sharing with you this amazing Baltimore City landmark, and also an amazing legacy of Baltimore's waterworks infrastructure. You saw last week multiple buildings from Baltimore's waterworks infrastructure, including the Vernon Pumping Station and the Eastern Avenue Pumping Station, and those are all active waterworks. But today we're looking at what is a retired waterworks, a sort of a defunct legacy, an artifact of Baltimore's waterworks infrastructure. So to start things off, we're gonna go to the top today, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about the history of the tower. So Suzanne, why don't you tell us a little bit, when was the tower built?
Construction started on the tower in 1904, and it was finished by 1905. It was built to provide water for the Hamden neighborhood, which is about 8 blocks south of here.
And about how much water does it hold?
The tower has a cast iron standpipe inside, Jackson, and it holds 211,000 gallons of water.
211,000 gallons, that's pretty good. So almost 250,000 gallons of water.
Correct.
Were in this tower at one time.
Yes.
Now, my understanding is that it actually didn't last very long as a functioning water tower. Is that correct?
That's correct. By 1930s, the reservoir system had been put into effect, and all the water towers across the city became obsolete overnight.
And now let's get a quick shot. I'll show you of the height of this tower, because it's how tall is it, Susan?
148 feet.
148 feet, so it's pretty tall. So let's see if I can show you. Hold on one second. Here we go. All the way to the top. Now, architecturally, this is more than just a water tower, right? It's not just a piece of engineering. Much like all of Baltimore's waterworks buildings from this time period, it has a very ornate architectural style. Is that correct?
That's good.
Could you tell us a little bit about what style it is?
Sure. This is the Beaux-Arts style of architecture, which was the premier style of architecture from about the 1830s until almost 1900.
Yes, we're going to go up the stairs. Or let's pause actually just at the base real quickly.
Oh, they're back.
All right, so here we have the standpipe, which you can see goes all the way to the top. And it has a spiral stair that wraps around it. And then also here at the base, we have one of the original windows that was salvaged at the point that it was it fell out of the window. the window surround. And so what we're going to be doing is using these original wood sashes to replicate the original windows that were in the tower. So with that, why don't we start climbing to the top? Yes, we are good. So we are now walking around the spiral stair that surrounds the standpipe, which is this massive iron pipe that you can see is riveted together out of iron plates. It's a pretty long way to the top. And it's dark in here.
Are you okay, Jackson?
Oh, we're great. As we go along, there are 4 windows that provide natural light to help us in our climb that look out over the city. And these are the window surrounds that will be replaced with those replicated wood casement windows that we saw below. Now you can imagine, it's a pretty long way to the top. Historically, these stairs were not used very much. The tower was only in operation for about 30 years. And the necessity to climb the top was not very great for maintenance purposes. We'll take a quick pause to look out. And this is looking west toward Hamden. We'll get a better view of that from the top, which we're very close to, luckily. Before we get there, I want to quickly pause and show you the interior of the standpipe. I'm gonna hold my camera very carefully. Here we have the inside of the pipe that held that 220,000 gallons of water. It's a long way down. Woo, I'm okay. And here we are at the Belvedere. We made it. Woo. Now, this again was really more about creating an architectural feel of the building rather than a functional Belvedere for people to come up to. Of course, it's no less magnificent, and we'll take a few looks at some of the panoramic views. Here's the north side. Facing north up towards Towson, Baltimore County. And of course, here's the west side. East, sorry, this is facing east. And as we pan, we're going to move then toward the south. I see someone's waving to us. Hi. Wait, there we go. Okay, and then over here we're going to walk around. Now you'll notice that there's this wire mesh. This was installed in around 2011 by the Roland Park Community Foundation to help protect the interior from birds. Pigeons had taken up roost in here, and they had made quite a mess. And so this was installed in order to preserve the architectural features from bird guano, which had accumulated a long time. Now, Suzanne, there's also another very notable resident here, right? Somebody who does live up in this tower. Who is it?
That's correct. We have a peregrine falcon couple that roost here from about Christmas time until June every year. They moved in 2014 after the pigeon guano was removed. And now they come back and they have 2 or 3 fledglings every year.
And let me just make sure sorry about that. We're back again, right? Can you see
Yeah,
us okay?
you're back. You're back. We lost you
All
there
right,
for a
sorry
second.
about that. So in case you missed it, Suzanne was just telling us that we have these two peregrine falcons that are roosting up here.
Mhm.
And actually, they do a pretty good job at keeping the pigeons at bay, because one thing that you can't see is the outside of the Belvedere is littered with pigeon bones that they have become fallen victim to the falcons and their chicks.
Yes, that's correct.
One of the challenges of this project is to ensure that the falcons are able to return to the tower after the restoration.
Yes.
And we're working closely with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in order to make sure that we're not disturbing the falcons and that we're keeping them conserved and happy and living here for many, many more years to come.
Yes, very much so.
Let's take a quick look at the, we did east, south, and then looking west. The west side, again, because of this wire mesh, it's a little hard to see, but this is looking west toward Hamden. So with that, I'm going to actually switch over briefly to a tripod so that we can then take your questions and hopefully answer them. Hold on one second. But we are here for you to answer your questions. So put them in the chat box and Nathan will read it back to us and we'll do our best I can to answer them.
Okay, we all felt pretty winded watching you two climb the tower. How many steps is it to the top?
How many steps is it to the top?
I didn't count.
We didn't count.
But it's probably 10 stories where we are now, and then there's another 4 with a huge roof.
Yeah, 10 stories up.
Yeah.
So it's quite a climb. Yeah, it was. We probably should have built in some breaks in there.
Yeah, we're at least 10 or 11 floors up right now. We're definitely the highest thing around.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so we heard about the effort to restore the tower and wanted to hear a bit about where things stand now and what the timetable is to get it open for the public.
So they want to know about the timetable and when things will start. And so actually the construction trailer was just delivered, right? And there's a construction fence around the tower.
Yeah. So the scaffolding is going to be installed around the whole tower this month. It'll take 2 or 3 weeks. And then depending on the weather, I'll repeat that, depending on the weather, it should take about 7 months to finish the restoration. If we have a rough winter, it will be delayed and it will be longer.
Thank you. All right, any other questions?
Will people be able to climb the tower when it's open?
So will people be able to climb the tower when it's open? Unfortunately, not at this time. The interior of the tower, as you saw, is not really capable of accommodating the general public for a variety of reasons, ADA reasons, but also sort of general safety code. And so that might be a goal further down the future. The goal right now is to preserve the exterior of the tower and its materials and to keep pieces from falling off. And then hopefully also open up the park around the base. Yeah. Is that right?
That's all correct.
Yeah. Okay, any questions? Any further questions?
We have some people who are interested in the falcon roost. Are we able to see that?
So the falcons are currently roosting in the eaves above us here. Let's see, I can see you can.
But they're not roosting here now.
They're not roosting here at the moment. Thank you. That's an important point. However, the falcons will be provided a custom-made nesting box that will be specially constructed and overseen by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And that will sit on the floor right here, and the falcons will be able to get in through the balusters. And so that will provide a safe and nesting place, which will actually be superior to what they have now. And they'll really enjoy it.
Great. We have some requests to pan the camera around, but we can do that after we finish up with some of these questions here.
Sure.
Let's see. So what is the significance of the water tower for the neighborhood?
So that's a good question for you, Suzanne. Since you live in the neighborhood, the folks want to know about what's the significance of the tower to the people who live here.
Oh, that is such a terrific question. It is such a landmark for our neighborhood. And before the chain link fence was installed, We would have block parties around the tower. It was a meeting place. Oh, I'll see you in the tower in 20 minutes. And in the wintertime when it would snow, all the neighborhood children would bring their saucers and go zooming down the little slope that's at the base of the tower. It's a very celebratory space.
Thank you. Well, maybe at this point I'll do a zoom around so you can get a 360-degree view. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. So here we go. This is facing south. Now, all of these columns are actually just decorative. They're not structural. This is glazed terracotta that was installed to give the tower its Italianate Renaissance Revival style. And this far north too, there's no other buildings around here that are as tall as this tower. So it really does dominate the skyline. And looking out, you get really just a total 360-degree view. Okay.
Thank you. Here's a good question. So there's another similar water tower to this one elsewhere in the city. Can you tell us a little bit about that tower?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So before we get to that question, which is about the West Arlington Water Tower, the sort of the sister tower to this one, I also want to point out that the fundraising for this project is still ongoing, and we are really counting on private contributors to help chip in and help us restore this amazing landmark. Suzanne, how can people do that?
RolandWaterTower.org, and $5 or $500. No donation is too small. RolandWaterTower.org.
Thank you. So the other water tower that looks very similar to this is the West Arlington Tower. Why don't you tell us about that one?
Oh, I am in love with the Arlington Water Tower. We learned in the past 11 years so much about saving a precious piece of architecture. And now I'm going to turn my attention to work with the neighbors surrounding the Arlington Water Tower and take everything that we learned about getting this tower saved, and now we're going to save that tower.
Thank you. Yeah, they're both really amazing legacies of Baltimore's public works. And this is such a special way of celebrating civic pride and industry. And these water towers are a kind of melding of both of those things, industry and civic pride. And so we're really lucky to have these buildings, and we want to keep them for as long as we possibly can, right?
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a few questions about the standpipe. So was the tower built around the standpipe? So did the standpipe come first, and then the architectural structure was built around it? And what's the standpipe made of? Is there any water remaining in the tower?
So the question is about the standpipe, how it was built, if it's still functioning. Would you like to answer that, Suzanne?
Sure. There's no water in it. It's not functioning at all anymore. It's cast iron, so it's the exact same type of construction as the Eiffel Tower, and also the exact same type of construction as the interior of the Peabody Library here in Baltimore. They're all built around the same era. It's cast iron construction.
And I believe it was built first, right? I think I mentioned this earlier. The tower was built first, and then the masonry.
The standpipe was went first, and then the masonry tower was built around the standpipe.
Yes.
And then I guess they filled it with water.
I think so, yeah. The water was pumped up and then stored in the tower, and then the water pressure of the natural gravity flow from downward through the standpipe is what pushed the water to people's homes.
Great. And I have one more question for you here, which is, we talked a little bit about the falcons. How is the rest of the project going to proceed to make sure that the falcons are accommodated and aren't spooked? And
so how are the falcons going to be accommodated during construction?
They're not going to be. We can't. But they're not going to leave. They just won't have a nest here this year. They will certainly come back next year. This is prime real estate for falcons, so they're not going to stay away. We're curious to see how they interact with the scaffolding and the contractors. Falcons are very assertive, and they can be quite noisy, and they do watch you. So it'll be, all the birders are going to have a real treat seeing how the falcons interact. But one more point, falcons are very, very territorial. So this is their territory. And even if they don't build a nest in the tower this winter, they're still going to be maintaining their territory.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, anything else?
Well, I have one request for the two of you. So at
Sure.
the very beginning of the tour, the video cut out as you were going into the tower. And we got you back within a couple of minutes there. But if you could you walk down the tower with us with the video on? Oh, I think you might have lost that. Jackson, are you there?
Hey, Nathan,
Hey,
can you see me okay?
yes.
Sorry about that. Our battery actually died on the camera. But we're back here with you on a different phone, and we're happy to take you down the tower. So we did a quick scramble to get you back, but I think we're ready to go back down if you'd like to see the rest of it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, fantastic.
If you go down, I'll follow you.
Okay, let me grab the flashlight.
Oh, good idea.
Okay, here we go. All right, we're now going down through this hatch, which leads on, again, we're back onto the spiral stair. And we're being very, very careful because, you know, if you make one slip, it's a long way down. And there's very little to catch you. So this is one reason why it's not really practical for us to bring visitors of the general public up to the top at this time. The interior, the brickwork too, is remarkably intact, especially since this tower is open to the elements at this time. When the project to restore it is done, it will be protected from water, but it really goes to show you how durable these materials were and how much sort of redundancy, but also quality was put into the method of construction. I mean, this masonry is really very solid, despite the fact that the tower hasn't been maintained really or in use for now 90 years. You can see too, here's the riveting, which fastens the cast iron plates of the standpipe together. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's some pigeon feathers here on the floor, a remnant of our tenants, the peregrine falcons. Here's another feather. All right, we're coming uptown now, close to the bottom of the tower. You can see this window here, which is actually covered in a bronze decorative grille in Roman lattice. And this was part of the Italian Renaissance revival detailing of this tower, and is really quite beautiful. So now we're back down on the first level that I think we missed the first time around. And here's the door. And then, of course, here's the base of the standpipe, going all the way up to the top. And then the base of the stairs as well. And now we're back outside, and you can see the construction trailer for our contractor, Lewis Contractors. So with that, are there any other final questions before we sign off
Well, I think, can you repeat how people can learn more about the restoration project, find more information to contribute, be a part of it?
Yeah, that's fine. So Suzanne's coming down. She's the expert on this. But the restoration is being spearheaded by the Roland Park Community Foundation. So if you get online and contact them, they'll be able to help get you involved. We would love any kind of assistance with this project. And, this is really supposed to be a community effort because really this, as a public work, this is something that's shared by all of us. So yes, please do contribute if you can. Anything else?
That is it. I saw someone shared the link to the website where you can learn more about the restoration. So,
Great. Thank you for doing that.
yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I again apologize for the technical difficulties, but I think we got through it okay. My name is Jackson Gilman Forlini. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for the Baltimore City Department of General Services. Here's a request to see some more of the outside. There's the tower from the base. I was joined today by Suzanne Frazier of the Friends of the Roland Water Tower. And thank you again for joining us and for joining Doors Open Baltimore. Please be sure to check out all the rest of the great tours.